and welcome to season 4 of the Wright Perspective. More than ever before, we need you to like, share, and subscribe on any and every platform that you use to engage with us. This year, we are finally implementing marketing and monetization strategies. So we need them likes, okay? Bro and sis, do you have anything to say to our viewers and listeners as we launch into this new season?
I'm just excited. I'm excited for season 4. Looking forward to season 53.
I just wanted to say, why were y'all listening to any other podcasts?
Oh my God. At all?
Facts.
I mean, just all of them. What is happening? No, welcome back to us. Only us.
100% of the time.
Welcome back, season 4. I can't believe it's season 4. But I'm excited. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. We got a great lineup this season.
Yes, we do. Y'all, I'm so amped, and I got to tell you, I think we picked the right movie to kick us off. I think we picked the right movie. So today we're going to recap and review Ray, a 2004 biopic focusing on 30 years in the life of iconic musician Ray Charles. The film was co-produced and directed by Taylor Hackford and written by James L. White. It stars Jamie Foxx and also Kerry Washington, Clifton Powell, Lennix, Terrence Howard, Larenz Tate, Richard Schiff, Regina King, all of those folks in supporting roles. Man. People we love.
They did that cast.
Oh, listen, casting, check, okay? And the film grossed, ready? $124.7 million worldwide against a budget of $40 million. Wow. It was nominated, right? And y'all, this was an independent film. I did not know that.
I didn't know that. It don't look like it. Yeah,
it definitely doesn't.
It had that quality of a film from a major movie house. So it was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, and it won 2: Best Actor in a Leading Role for Jamie Foxx. Yay! Which he deserved, I gotta say. Sometimes the awards are like, who cares? It's political, but he clearly deserved that. Best Sound Mixing, they also won. So, and for some, these facts, the budget, the gross numbers, the awards, for some, these facts will be enough to consider this movie a classic. But today, we will determine whether it is a classic from the Wright perspective. We'll do a recap, we'll discuss the movie, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol picked especially for this discussion. But we always start with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright. I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
And I am Brittany Wright. The main reason you came back. I am the youngest.
Starting already.
Hello world.
You're the reason I'm back, sis. Well, y'all, let's pick a voting symbol. And I had 2 that came to me. Okay.
I forgot
that I'll recommend. Symbols. Okay, so clearly nothing's changed. The first one is sunglasses. His sunglasses, but I am not recommending them for the times he was wearing them. I am recommending the sunglasses for the times he wasn't wearing them. Okay. This is those formative years as a little boy before he lost his sight. Okay. And even in the beginning when he was musically gifted, but he hadn't yet made it big. Right. This is before he even was on a band. He didn't wear those glasses. Okay. And also in his intimate moments where he was with his wife and when he was in rehab, those were the moments where he did not have those glasses on. And we did a lot of research, you all, to prepare for this conversation, including watching an actual documentary about Ray, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But his son, one of his sons in the documentary said it. He was like,
his first son, I think,
when my father was in rehab, was the time where I feel like I knew him the most, because it was when he was the most vulnerable. And so it's for those moments when he wasn't wearing the sunglasses that I recommend the sunglasses as an option. The other voting symbol I was kind of playing around with, I didn't get to fully formulate, the thought, was the state of Georgia. because that was his birthplace.
The whole state.
That was his birthplace. And you have to remember, they rejected him for trying to be himself, and for trying to do the right thing, and eventually they came around.
Question. I thought he was born in Florida.
He was born in Georgia, raised in Florida.
Okay. Got you.
Mm-hmm. And, they eventually came around. And I think that's like a great analogy for what happened in the music industry as well. Because at first he was doing all kinds of things that people just could not immediately accept. Oh, but then they came around. So like, for example, he was fusing, R&B, lyrics over gospel music. And that, of course, the churchy folks didn't like it one bit. Okay. And then even later, he started to incorporate jazz and country into his sound. And again, people just weren't ready, but then they got ready because he did such a good job. And so like the state of Georgia, the music industry eventually came around. So anyways, maybe I'll put both of those forward as options. Those are my two potential recommendations: Sunglasses and the state of Georgia.
Excellent. And I recommend at the end of this podcast, we take our own R&B song, our own gospel song, and turn it into an R&B.
Brittany, that's the reason we keep coming back. That's the reason we keep coming back, for these top-notch ideas that you have.
You're welcome.
It's so good. Bro, did you come up with any?
No, if only we could remember the format of the podcast.
I'm gonna write it down this season. I'm write it down.
To me, it's another one of those that has to be the glasses, like for me. But for when he does wear them. Because I like how his whole name was it was Ray Charles Robinson,
right,
and but it was like, when he puts on his glasses, he becomes Ray Charles. It's like it's like he enters that musical persona.
Yes,
and now they're iconic.
Yes.
And it's funny because, like, when I think of Stevie Wonder, who also, he wears sunglasses, but I don't know why his sunglasses aren't as synonymous with him to me. Like when I think of Stevie Wonder, I'm more thinking braids, but for whatever reason, the sunglasses don't connect in a way. Like you can see a pair of sunglasses and think, Ray Charles.
Wow. Love that.
Love that.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that.
Sis, any spur of the moment thoughts?
Sunglasses.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
Here we go.
Piano. A bus. Racism.
All right, that's enough.
Okay. That's enough.
The Chitlin Circuit.
All right.
I'm not done.
This is what we do when we take the
reins off. You're done.
I think we could go ahead and go glasses. All three of us said glasses.
Everyone, our voting symbol is sunglasses. And at the end of this podcast, we will take a vote. And this movie must receive 3 pairs of sunglasses in order to be considered a classic from the Wright perspective. Okay, not 0, not 1, not 2, but 3. All right. So this is very exciting, y'all. So let's start with a recap. If you're new to our podcast, we always do a quick little recap at the top for those who haven't seen the content but want to enjoy the podcast, or they haven't seen the content in a while, because most of our stuff is rusty, crusty, dusty, and that's the way we like it. Okay, let's do a quick recap of Ray. The movie really strategically uses flashbacks to tell like history, but for the sake of the recap, we'll pretty much just tell the story chronologically. Okay, just to keep it brief. So Ray Charles Robinson, played as a little boy by C.J. Sanders, is raised in a very poor town in Florida in the 1930s alongside his brother George by his mother Aretha B., played by Sharon Warren. She's a kind, loving, and formidable presence in Ray's life, and his childhood is happy until Ray actually watches his little brother George drown in a laundry tub, thinking he was playing. And then 2 years later, he lost his eyesight. His mother taught him as much as she could about being independent while blind, and he also spent some time at a school for the deaf and blind that was miles away from home. And it's important to note that before all of this tragedy, his interest in the piano was actually sparked at a local general store. And by the time he's in his late teens and is now the actor Jamie Foxx, he is playing piano for a country band in Florida and eventually moves to Seattle to play jazz. They love him on the music scene for his talent, but they shun him for being blind and for being country, frankly. And people he thinks he can trust actually take advantage of him financially, making money off his talent. Eventually, he tries heroin really just to try to be part of the group. He's trying to get into the in crowd. And of course, he becomes addicted. The drugs, fortunately, do not affect his talent or work ethic. He shortens his name to Ray Charles and starts to blow up for his masterful piano playing and singing. By his mid-20s, he has a record deal with Atlantic Records. They nurture his talent and encourage him to find his own sound. He ultimately combines gospel and R&B and creates the genre known as soul music. He gets his own band, backup singers, and is finally making money and garnering fame and begins to enjoy lots of women while on the road. By his early 30s, he has negotiated a groundbreaking record deal with a new agency and has crossed over to the pop charts. Along the way, he gets married to a beautiful preacher's daughter in Texas named Della B, played by Kerry Washington. And as his star continues to rise, he incorporates jazz and country music into his sound. And of course, his use of drugs and women also increases. He and his wife has 3 kids, and he has a child with one of his backup singers. As his star power and pockets continue to grow, so does the drama. Okay, some of the folks he's known along the way become disenchanted with his business choices and allegedly start to steal from him. Also, he gets arrested for drugs a few times. He gets banned from the state of Georgia for refusing to play for segregated audiences. Eventually, he does go to rehab to keep from going to jail, but he never stops womanizing. By 1979, he is in his late 40s or early 50s and a bona fide musical icon. So much so, the state of Georgia apologizes and makes one of his best-known songs, Georgia on My Mind, the state song. And he continued to make music and remain a household name until he passed away in 2004, leaving behind a legacy that includes creating a genre of music, lots of smart business deals, and lots of philanthropy. He had given over $20 million to Black schools and charities for the blind and the deaf. Certainly a laud-worthy legacy. The end.
Oh, excellent. Excellent as always.
Thanks, bro and sis. It feels good to do a recap again. It feels very good. And everyone, there's an important, if you didn't, watch or listen to the conclusion of season 3. Well, first of all, shame on you. Get on top of that. Okay, that's number 1.
It's still available.
No, it's out there. Oh, it's out there.
Just go listen to all of them.
Listen to all of them, 100% of them. And in our season finale, that was actually the very first time in all of our 3 seasons that we had done a biopic. And we had done What's Love Got to Do with It, the biopic on Tina Turner. And in that conversation, we spent most of the time talking about like, what is the responsibility of a biopic, and how is it different in terms of its relationship to the truth? And how is it different from a documentary? So we were just talking about that push and pull of the documentaries, usually at least it tends to be objective to some degree and just tell the story. Whereas, a movie is going to have a perspective. It's a story being told. And so to prepare for this discussion of a biopic, we did something we've never done before, which is watched together another movie to actually support this conversation. And it was a documentary called, Ray Charles, Genius of Soul. Okay. And we watched that so that we could have, for the sake of this conversation, an opportunity to go between the two and to to continue that conversation of biopic versus documentary responsibility and contribution. So why don't we start there? Bro and sis, I'd love to hear from you about like, how did the, the watching of the documentary impact your experience of the movie? Did you watch the documentary first? Did you watch the documentary after the movie? And what was your general experience of like having these two Ray Charles stories in your head at the same time?
Well, I know for me, the documentary was a little bit boring. And I was struggling to get through it. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. I had to watch it in 2 parts. I was like, oh, but it was very informative. It did confirm some of the things that were stated in the movie, which was nice. Of course, with movie and with cinema, you have there's going to be extra dramatic things that they do. But yeah, so that's really what it was.
I thought I actually opted to watch it after I watched Ray, and I was it seems like they got the story pretty right, just watching the documentary. And other than some small details that I think the way they presented the story served the story better. I didn't have any problems with the couple of little things that they switched around for cinematic license, but the story of Ray is so fascinating in terms of the movie that it's just interesting to see that, man, this stuff actually happened. It's actually happened. And I also was very impressed by how they had footage of, I couldn't tell in the documentary if the footage was actually of Ray Charles as a child and stuff like that, but they had at least footage of one of those areas and where Ray grew up in the movie, and it was like spot on. And obviously in the documentary, everything is black and white, naturally, because we're talking about decades ago when they're recording these things. But it's always interesting watching this because I wonder what would it have looked like in color? Like what would it have looked like to be in the theater when Ray Charles was singing this song and you only have it in black and white? What would it have been like? And I think it gave me retroactively another aspect of the Ray movie to enjoy, because now I felt like when you see in the documentary how they grew up in the neighborhood and stuff, and now you got the color version, it enhanced it for me. Like, wow, it's almost like you got to peer into the past, and they did such a great job of that. And I really don't think I would have understood how well it was done if I hadn't watched the documentary as well. So I definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I felt the same way. I was happy that I watched the movie first, and I had seen it. Let the record show I had seen Ray before. We had all seen Ray before, right? Like,
I saw it in the theater.
Right? Yeah.
I saw it in theaters.
So I had seen Ray before. But I was happy that I watched the movie again before I watched the documentary, because then the documentary, it was like, it was really just affirming the things and almost flushing out the things that were in the movie, because they weren't really in disagreement too much, Now, the other thing that's important to note, though, is that just like a movie is only 2 hours and can only tell so much, the documentary was only 1 hour, and so they really couldn't tell it all. And so it was just interesting, though, that a lot of what they chose to tell in the documentary is what they chose to tell in the movie. So those two particular pieces of, they followed each other pretty well. I will say there is a book that, a biography that Ray Charles had co-authored. I believe it was in the 80s. And there is the co-author of that book, David Ritz. he says that they missed out. He appreciated the movie for the most part. He thought Jamie Foxx did a masterful job in terms of actually capturing Ray Charles's energy. So he did celebrate that in this article. The article is actually on slate.com, and it's called "It's a Shame About Ray. Why Must Biopics Sentimentalize Their Subjects?" And you know, so what David Ritz is saying is like, boy, it was like, Jamie Foxx did a great job, but they missed out on some opportunities. So one he points out is that you know, they didn't address in the biopic, and frankly, or in the documentary, where he learned to play music so well. Isn't that interesting? That neither one of those pieces.
Well,
I didn't even think of that.
I thought they said he went to school.
Not for music though.
No, he learned to play music at the School for the Blind and the Deaf. So when he was at that boarding school, that was where he learned how to play music.
They didn't. I see what you're saying. Like, but they didn't make that a main part of the movie.
Yeah, I guess that was a missed opportunity. That's so funny. Yeah.
They highlighted it just a bit in the documentary, but it was like a sentence.
It was like a sentence.
It was.
When really it's quite a big deal to be away from home and to build that skill set, you know. And the other thing was, he said that
the next movie, Ray is a kid.
Part 2. Little Ray, LIL, Little Ray. So the other thing was, after it was true, they talked about it in the movie, the biopic, they talked about it in the documentary, that at some point Ray Charles went to rehab and kicked the heroin addiction. But after he stopped taking heroin, he drank large quantities of gin every day and smoked large quantities of pot every night. The author, David Ritz, said, while working on his autobiography, he told me, just like smack never got in the way of my working, same goes for booze and reefer. What I do with my own body is my own business. You know, Ray maintained this attitude until his health deteriorated. In 2003, he told me that he had been diagnosed with alcoholic liver disease and hepatitis C. If I knew I was going to live this long, he added with an ironic smile, I would have taken better care of myself.
Wow, that's something.
So, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's little things like this.
His sentiments, yeah.
Totally. So, I mean, it's a good article that I think people could check out. They point out a couple of other little things, like he had in his life as a child, he had 2 mother figures. He had his biological mother, and then he had one of his father's former wives. He called his biological mother Mama, and he called that other woman Mary Jane. He called her mother. You know, and Aretha, the mother that was portrayed in the movie, his biological mother, fostered his independence. And Mary Jane, this other mother, she indulged him all the time. And so, and in this article, and this is a quote from it, the author said, for the rest of his life, Ray was as fiercely self-reliant as he was self-indulgent. 2 dynamic women, 2 radically different approaches to his sightlessness. You can imagine the impact on his character. You know, so there were just some deeper themes that the movie didn't get to, but you can't get to it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because
you got to pick and choose. It's a whole life.
Exactly.
And there isn't anything I could think of in the movie that I would have wanted traded out.
Good point.
I didn't. It didn't feel like the movie is 2.5 hours long, and personally, I didn't feel it. So that there are certain movies where you're watching, you're like, it was great, but we could have traded this scene for that,
or deleted it, or deleted it,
You know, so, but I didn't.
It'd been 30 minutes.
So I don't. Although those things sound so interesting to flesh out, I don't know.
It didn't need it.
Yeah.
There's a place for books, there's a place for biopics, and there's a place for documentaries. That's my conclusion from this. It's like you need all of these different things, and if you're really interested in a person, you shouldn't rely on just one, because you're not going to get it all. You know,
now one they could have threw a montage of him learning piano at the school.
Wouldn't have hurt.
That they could have did that.
Yeah,
because that would have added.
We love a good montage on the right.
Yeah, and that would have added a lot of runtime.
You
You know what I'm
Love
saying?
a montage.
Yeah, but it's funny. I wouldn't have thought of it, but now that is a skip.
Yeah, he said Ray fails to include a single scene from his extraordinary educational experience is another grievous oversight. It was at that state school where he was taught to read Braille, play Chopin. How do you pronounce that? Chopin?
I think Chopin.
What's Chopin?
Write arrangements.
A musical.
It's like he's like
famous.
Bach. You know,
Oh, okay, it's
and Mozart.
Classical.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm uncultured. Forgive me.
Yeah, I can't remember how to pronounce it.
You just forgot. It's okay.
That's where he learned to write arrangements, learn piano and clarinet, and where he started to sing and discover sex. All of that happened at the state school. So that anyway, but I think we got.
I love how excited you were at the end.
That could have been
sex.
We could have left the sex.
We like a good montage, and we like sex.
We could have left the sex, but we could have left the sex. But I would have liked. Now that it's mentioned, I would have liked
now it's
a Braille learning, music learning.
Yes,
4-minute montage. Yeah,
that's
right.
all.
It is kind of
because I didn't think about the Braille. That's another thing. Like,
yeah, and they showed him using.
They showed
Braille.
reading.
Yes.
Braille, but also that would, but I think that's obviously coming from a person who really knows the story, because I wouldn't have. That wouldn't have occurred to me.
I will say this: I was happy about the documentary confirming the relationship he had with Quincy Jones.
Yeah,
I was really happy to see that. I was so happy to see that. I was like, dope. Just listening to the names, or even seeing in a documentary the names that were in his band, like Dizzy Gillespie. It's just like, these are names you hear about. I also wanted to say I'm very happy that he was around when that was happening. So often people don't get a chance to tell their own story. And so I'm happy that he made it all the way. I don't know if he got a chance to see the movie.
I know the answer.
Or maybe like a pre-production.
Oh, you know the answer.
I know the answer, y'all. So in addition to the fact that he gave a green light on the movie, he had read the script. And in fact, he had requested a special Braille copy of the script, which they gave to him. He read the script. He only made 2 slight tweaks. And this is from the creator of the movie saying this. He only made 2 slight tweaks. But in general, he was happy with the story. He wanted to audition the person that was going to be playing him, which was Jamie Foxx. And so Jamie Foxx had to audition for Ray Charles. This is how much Ray Charles was a part of the making of this movie. And the good news is he did get to see it before he passed away. And in fact, he was planning to attend the premiere. You know, he died in 2004. Movie came out in 2004. So close. Wow. That's why you got to give people their flowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to give it to them. You got to give it to him. But the point is, he did get to see it, y'all.
That's good.
That's good. That's
wonderful.
Good. And,
so happy to hear that.
And I just wanted to, I love how the movie, to go back to what Britt said before we go past it, I love how the movie captured those moments of, this is Quincy Jones and this is Ray Charles. These are 2 iconic people who have changed history forever. But at this moment, they're just some musicians. And like it's just
he's on the corner with his little saxophone. He can't get into the club.
Like the dude is turning away Quincy Jones. Like you're like,
you dumb.
Now
you know
it's like, what are you talking about? But I just thought the movie did a great job of that. And it wasn't corny. It was like what he said. It was what he says when you find out it's Quincy Jones. It was just very naturally done, and I really like that part too. And watching that in the documentary, like Britt said, it was just like, that's probably how it was. That's probably how it was.
I had to look up Quincy Jones' age because I just feel like Quincy Jones is timeless. I was like, oh, you 90, yo? I said, that makes sense. But I mean, when 1930, I was like,
and time is a thing, because when at the end of that movie, when they said, when they did the little where they put the words on the screen and they're talking about him being the ban being lifted in 1979, you're like, golly, like,
Like, wait a minute.
Right.
We was almost in 1980, but I'm just saying they're not that old. You know, I mean, they're old now, but it's not as far back as
it's not. And I will tell you, so, and I wanted, this is another question I have for the two of you, is about like your relationship to Ray Charles, you know, before this experience of preparing for the podcast. For me, I gotta be honest, I was searching my brain, and I think the first time I saw Ray Charles was on Sesame Street. You know, and I remember him playing on Sesame Street with some of the little characters singing something. And I didn't look up what it was, but I have a clear memory of what they were singing, but I have a clear memory of Ray Charles on Sesame Street. Okay. And I also, in prep for this podcast, I listened to a Spotify playlist of his music. I sent it to y'all. Did y'all get a chance to listen to some of it? You know, did y'all get a
playlist?
I did. I sent you a link to a Spotify playlist.
You sent us
y'all. What y'all need to know, podcast land. Janiyah got so hyped about this. She sent us 17 links, honey. I probably got to 2.
Are you saying Janiyah became obsessed? That doesn't sound like her at all.
It doesn't sound like
out
her
of character.
at
all. Strange little conclusion you've drawn. We have enjoying homework?
You have
craziness.
Exactly. You have to remind the people of our levels of preparedness.
Right.
Janiyah is overly prepared. Aubrey is just writing. Well, I watched it.
Yeah, we're like the Three Little Bears or whatever.
But
let me tell y'all about the playlist. Let me tell y'all about the playlist though. The playlist, it was his greatest music. And here's the good news. Both the documentary and the biopic, they got a lot of his greatest hits. They did integrate them. So if you didn't do additional work to hear his music, you still heard his greatest hits. But I will say the value in listening to the playlist was that I was hearing things that are not at the level of Georgia on My Mind, but were still for his audience base in his top hits. Right. And I gotta tell you, you know, it's not just those shiny songs that we're used to hearing. He was just an amazing performer. I mean, these songs were the kind of songs, like, you know how, you know, there's some songs that are timeless. You know, like I Will Always Love You for Whitney Houston. That song is going to be good 800 years from now. Every one of these Ray Charles songs, I was like, why is it still so good? Even though it's clearly based on the way it feels dated, it is still so good to me right now. It feels like it will always be good. So anyway, that was another part of the prep for me and getting to know him, you know. But bro, I cut you off.
I'll say the biggest, I remember obviously when we were kids, You Got the Right One Baby was a huge thing. But
this is the marketing campaign for Pepsi you're talking about.
Yes, marketing campaign for Pepsi. You Got the Right one. That was
the everywhere. Right one, baby.
Everywhere.
That was everywhere. And
we still say it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's one of the things that permeated. It'll always be there. But also, before I had a connection to Ray Charles before I really knew it was Ray Charles. And that was from when we were kids and we were watching Cosby Show. And
yes, I was going to say that.
And so that was
that's right.
That was a very.
I didn't know that was Ray Charles at the time, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like we didn't connect. Like it just sounded like an old song.
Totally. But, the right time.
Yeah, and then because I can still see them singing and bringing Rudy out like.
So good.
Cosby just walked her out. She did the baby and then he walked her back.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say is that I love what some people call neo soul or the fusion of soul with the hip hop. And I love that genre of music, like from the beginning. I mean, just I remember being in my dorm room freshman year watching Erykah Badu in that, because they had, remember back, Brittany might be too young, but like and Janiyah might be borderline, but it was when I was in school, like you couldn't like just watch videos. You know, videos would just play randomly.
Yes.
and that came on, and just that, you know, the on and on, and I'm like, what is this? Because it's just so crazy. But I'm saying when you realize that all of that tracks back to
has roots.
A genre of music that he literally just created.
That's right.
And the point I'm trying to make is I think a lot of us were impacted by Ray and don't even know it. You know, like I think it's just he was so impactful that there's so much that could track back to that. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. And bro, everything you just shared, it's a great opportunity for me to share an important little factoid we got from the documentary, which is that Ray Charles had no top 10 hit since 1966, but he continued to make money through endorsements and collaborations. And his voice continued to become more and more iconic without top 10 hits. You see, it's all of these other things, these ways that he was just infused into and impacting and driving culture. We didn't even realize it was happening. You know?
It makes you think when they showed him singing to those country crowds and stuff like that.
Yes.
I wonder he impacted some people and changed
Big
how
time.
they think about life. You know what I mean? Like
big time.
I'm sure. And I think that would be a good transition for us to talk about the music in the movie. Isn't that one of the things we gotta?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So do it, bro. Take us there.
I wanted to ask you all this. First of all, obviously, all the music scenes are fantastic.
Phenomenal.
I mean, the when they sing, what was the one that he made up right on the time? That he made up on the spot. Watch what I say. What I say. Right.
Yes.
And that scene.
What I say. Yes.
And I'm sure Janai has factoids about all this, but when he did all of when I first saw the movie, I went to look up to see if he actually sang the different parts on that one song where he replaced the Raylettes, and he did that. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just saying, I think they caught all of those moments beautifully, every single last one.
Yes.
My question to you two is this: with most, I feel like they lip sync in this movie. Okay, so they lip sync. They did as good of a job as you could do lip syncing.
Absolutely,
they did it.
And Jamie Foxx also had to sync up his playing on the piano.
Well,
that's another important point. He did.
But he played it.
Oh, he played it.
Yeah,
he learned those songs.
Yeah, so it
was not just the voice sync up. He also was playing. Yeah,
he played this. My question is, I think Jamie Foxx could have handled it. I think he could have sang for real, and I just wonder how it would have hit harder, because in those moments, you know, he's lip syncing, because as phenomenal as everything is, you know, and you accept it, and it's cool, it's fine. But I think he could have did it, because he sang that on a Kanye song. You know, that wasn't Ray Charles singing on Gold Digger. That's Jamie Foxx, and it sounds like Ray Charles.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I wonder, and I wanted to know what you all felt about that.
Sis?
Well, it made me laugh thinking about that in particular when that song came on.
Which one?
Where he she gives me money.
Oh yeah.
And so I did not realize that they had changed the lyrics completely for the Kanye West song. I said, "Oh, this song is quite the opposite of Gold Digger."
Oh yeah.
So, I was quite, like, "Oh, I didn't realize that. It's quite different."
Yes.
I do believe that Jamie Foxx could have handled it. He's extremely talented. He is, I'm waiting for him to have his EGOT, right? Like that is Jamie Foxx. He's going to get it. Like,
just give it to him.
Go get it. And so I am, but on the other hand, I'm very happy that they did do voiceovers, because even though someone could have done it, he could have done it live, there is something very different about the musicianship and how things sounded because of the way things were recorded back in the day versus how they are recorded now. Things are much more clear now. Back in the day, things were not as clear. You could still make them out. You could still listen to them. It was still really good, but they just weren't as I professionally, well, they did as best as they could with the things that they had. So I'm happy that they used previous recordings and they just lip sync.
Thank you for that, sis. I mean, we watched it.
Yeah, that makes me feel, and I didn't feel bad about that, but that makes me feel a little.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We watched it in the movie for the creation of the 8-track. He was already out making music when the 8-track came out. And he, as an artist, had the opportunity to do that layered vocal recording, so literally the technology was changing over the course of the movie that they had available to them. Yeah. But I'm going to tell y'all something, and I'm going to be real transparent right now. That's because we are a community at the Wright Perspective, okay?
Well, I just want you to know this is not a safe space. This space is not safe, honey. So, but I can't wait. I'm judging. No,
I thought it was Jamie Foxx. I'm not gonna lie. The whole time, and this is why I did because I know of his talent, and I know he could do it. I thought he did do it because the other thing that I did, I waited to do my research until after I watched the movie. Okay. But I did know that that Jamie Foxx could play the piano. I knew that already. And so,
and he
can sing, and he's a great impressionist. That's part of who he is as a comedian and an actor. It's a masterful impressionist skill set. And so I thought in the same way that he was so physically well embodying Ray Charles, that he was singing them songs. And it was later when it was actually when it started to dawn on me when there were other voices on the recordings.
Yes, that's when
I figured it out. When Regina King was
but I can see what you're saying though.
But until Regina King started lip singing, I thought Jamie Foxx was doing them songs.
I can see that.
But when some of the videos I watched, when he was talking about his prep, he had to learn every single one of those songs. Oh, and here's a quick on the topic of the music. This is a super fun little trivia bit. Do you know that they had picked Jamie Foxx for the role and did not know he could play the piano?
Really?
So yes.
But that was I thought that was on the documentary.
So they had picked Jamie Foxx for this role.
What did I watch?
And he
was the YouTube video that talked about that. Okay.
Yes, it was somewhere in one of those videos I seen, And he was in the auditioning process already. And it was coming down to the end of it, and he was going to be auditioning for Ray Charles. And they were just talking about the logistics of all of this. And they were like, when we're shooting the movie, we're going to have to shoot your face, and then have your doubles hands playing the piano. And Jamie was like, he was like, y'all don't know I can play the piano? He said, I went to college on a classical piano scholarship.
He would play piano. He would play piano in his sets.
Everywhere.
In his stand-up sets.
Totally. In his show, in the later season of the Jamie Foxx show. Remember? He played the piano because he was an ad exec. So
I remember the first time I heard him sing was watching In Living Color, and he said we're going to do something special, and he sang up the Donnie, was it the Donnie, hang up the mistletoe, and we were like,
few people would I say go ahead and sing that Donnie Hathaway, and I would say that to Jamie Foxx. So
I think that is sad though, that they didn't know he knew how to play.
Yeah, that's just weird because
y'all didn't do
you're
research?
in the industry. And he did this on camera though,
yes.
Right, like you admitted it.
Yeah,
okay. But I'm happy you were honest.
But could you cast him based on just his look and his ability to act in the role? Absolutely.
If
you didn't know, he was still perfect for it.
And what I will say is they did the best job of lip syncing I've ever seen. And even when they were doing the Watch What I Say, even down to the detail of him flipping the mic, because it was like he was singing at first and the mic wasn't the right direction.
Yes.
And then he, turn
Yes.
the mic around. That is some attention to detail.
So good.
He did a great
So
job.
good.
Right there.
Now,
And-
I will say this though, personally, I thought one person did not do well with the managing of, what is it called again? What are we talking about?
Lip
The
singing?
voice lip singing. That's
Okay,
the word. It was the one that played the first.
Marianne Fisher, played by
her.
Ingenue Ellis.
Yes. Now Ingenue Ellis is amazing. She did an amazing job acting. She did an
She
awesome
always
job.
does a good job acting.
She's so good. She's so good. I just don't think she did the lip singing very well.
Mm-hmm.
How she was presenting herself when she was lip singing, it did not match the way that voice sounded.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, nothing to do with her acting, nothing how she portrayed herself. She did an amazing job. I just don't think she did a great job lip singing.
Mm-hmm.
And Regina King, she did well. She did well because she is a very great with acting with her face. She's so good.
She's good at everything.
She's amazing at everything.
I just started watching 227 again recently. That show gets deep, by the way, in ways that we couldn't check for as kids
and younger.
Wow.
But you're right. Like, just she's a very special talent.
She really is. And so now that we started to talk about the actors and the performances
right now,
let's talk about like some of these other people. So we had Kerry Washington, who played his wife. We had Clifton Powell, who played Jeff Brown, who was the very first manager that Ray Charles had and trusted, who eventually they went their separate ways. We had Terrence Howard, who played, a member of the band and the musical community that was taking advantage of Charles. Then we had Larenz Tate playing Quincy Jones, Bokeem Woodbine, yes, playing Fathead Newman, who was the friend of and a bandmate who just tried to discourage Quincy Ray Charles from even starting the drugs. He was like, I'm over here doing drugs, but I don't want you to do them. Don't do it, buddy. He was like, it's not worth it. Don't get this addiction. And then we have Richard Schiff, who played Jerry Wexler, Curtis Armstrong, who played Ahmed Erdogan, Sharon Warren played Aretha Robinson, as I mentioned earlier, the mom. Wendell Pierce played Wilbur Bradford. Yeah, go ahead, sis. Those are all the main. And of course we said Regina King as Margie Hendricks.
We need to
go ahead.
At the mother. Listen, what's her name? Sharon what?
Sharon Warren as Aretha Robinson.
Sharon, I don't know if you're ever going to see this podcast, but I want to watch.
We'll send it to her. We'll find her and send it to her.
Anything that you ever do, I don't care if it's a play, a musical, a movie. You could do an after-school special.
Well, according to Wikipedia, she tapped out after 2006. Now, Wikipedia is not the end-all resource. Faithful. It's not. Yes. But she literally has no credits.
Okay, after.
She did Rage,
which is fine. Right.
And I want her to be happy wherever she at.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you what,
life.
That scene where she was struggling to let Ray find his own way. Yes. That scene was correct.
No words were happening.
It didn't feel like acting, yo. It almost felt like we found this footage of
what happened.
What happened.
She was nominated. She was nominated for an NAACP Image Award for that role for Outstanding Supporting Actress. She was nominated for a Satellite Award for Best Supporting Actress, an Online Film Critics Society Award, a Gold Derby Award. So the industry did recognize her for how well she played that role.
And they needed to. She did an amazing job. Like, I don't even know what else to say other than she helped you to see a person act and showing. You felt her grief as if it was her own child when George passed away, when he drowned. And then having just the strength to move forward.
Yes.
And you saw it.
And now your oldest child is losing their sight.
Oh my
You
God.
you just, and I loved how they said, she told him, she said, your name is Ray Charles Robinson. Don't you ever forget that. You let everyone know. And that is how he was introducing himself as an adult. I'm Ray Charles Robinson. Like he stood on the things that his mother taught him and showed him.
Yes.
And so she did an amazing job.
Overall,
she did so well.
This cast for me had no weak points.
None.
There wasn't and after watching the documentary, when you see some of the people who were being portrayed, it was casted even better than I thought.
Absolutely.
Like it was like they really took time to pick people who could represent these actual people.
Yes.
And even like Regina King's look, she has a look that was good for that time period. I mean, her look is timeless, but I'm just saying she looks like a person who could be.
She could have been a Raylette.
Yeah, no, she looked like she could be a Raylette. That's what I was trying to say. No, she looked like she could be a Raylette, and it's often, especially nowadays, there's always at least somebody who gets on your nerves in the movie. But like for this one, it wasn't. For me, it wasn't anybody. I thought the cast was pretty flawless.
So good. And one of in terms of like that awesome casting, they did an amazing job casting for the executives of Atlantic Records.
Curtis
Armstrong,
was like crazy.
He looked exactly like the real Ahmet
like
Ertegun. Okay, they look just like him. And let's use that as a segue to talk about Ray Charles is a businessman. Okay. Yeah. And I want to distinguish, this is a businessman. Now, we have a lot of movies that we've done that have had businessmen in them. Okay, this is not a businessman. This is a businessman. He knew his worth in the industry, and he negotiated deals that actually were paradigm shifts. So he negotiated a deal when he started with Atlantic Records, and then he got a deal with a big company, a major label, ABC Records. And when when the big label came to him, mind you, they came to him, sought him out. Okay, so he knew he had the bargaining chips, and he said, well, I love Atlantic Records. They done so well by me. I couldn't bear leave them unless I could have the masters to all of my music. And they were like, no one does that. That doesn't happen. Well, he made it happen. He had
all the cards. And I think Jamie Foxx did a great job portraying that, because in the moment, I think his blindness was almost a superpower in that moment, because he didn't have to worry about the facial cues of the other person or like how they were feeling. It's like, look, Jamie Foxx just was like, yeah, this is what it's going to be. And he just sat there like,
Exactly.
So I ain't got nothing else to say. And I feel like that's watching that scene, you're like, this is probably how it happened.
Totally.
This is probably exactly like, yeah, I want my masters to leave Atlantic, and I don't really got nothing else to say.
And that is why Ray Charles had a net worth of $75 million when he died in 2004. Did you hear what I said? Hear what I say? Did you hear what I said? Okay. 75 million.
Man, I think that, and even watching Jamie Foxx be the essence of Ray Charles, because Ray Charles just seemed like a fun person when you were watching him in a documentary, like he just liked to have a good time.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder, because he did this deal with ABC Records at some point prior to the 80s, I think. I don't know.
It was 59.
It was 59.
Mm.
So it makes me wonder why so many artists post him.
69, bro. 69.
I'm sorry. 69.
It makes me wonder why so many artists post him were able to be taken advantage of, weren't able to get their masters, weren't, or didn't have that thought process or that foresight.
They didn't have, you could have leverage.
Yeah, they might have had the thought process, but they ain't have the leverage.
If you don't got the leverage, because he was the hottest thing, but
also remember that he started at a small label. And his career even started before he had a label. And so the thing about it is his early years of being taken advantage of did happen. They just didn't happen at a record label. If you think about it, you know, there's something that is corrupt in this industry where every story you hear, it starts out with people getting taken advantage of at the beginning. So he did have that, sis. It just wasn't at the major record label. You know,
I do have a question for y'all when y'all are ready, because it feels like somebody was about to say something.
Go for it,
I was just saying I was ready to start talking about the cinematography. So just before we even, you know.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, and Genia, you may know this from your research, so the moments that he was being like, I'll just say it like this, there were white savior moments that were happening in this movie. And it made me wonder if did those actually happen in real life? So that would be my question. Like, did those actually happen? Because the moments I'm speaking of are like when he was in the small country, first of all, getting taken to the small country band to be a part of it. And then after being in it, being paid properly, he was about to be paid incorrectly, but one of his bandmates made sure that he was paid properly. And even right down to like Atlantic Records, making sure that certain things were happening, or even the man that was promoting him in these different places. It just all of these genuine.
The only one that I didn't really get like kind of validated through looking at other videos and reading articles was that that person who revealed to him at the very beginning that he was being taken advantage of at that very first club in Seattle.
Yes,
when he was hitting it up. Yes, with Terrence Howard. So that was the only white savior relationship that I did not see other places so that it was validated. Okay. But all those other ones, sis, it was white people making these interventions for him, you know.
Yeah, and I felt like,
well, they had the power in the industry.
Yeah,
that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another question I had, was it confirmed that he did actually not, I know that they kicked him out of the state, but was it because of him not performing at that actual venue, like how they were protesting, and then the guy, you know, said, hey, they're not letting Black people in here, don't perform here, and then Ray immediately, like, you know, turned around and left the venue?
Yes, it was
real as well?
I don't know if it was at that venue, but I know that the reason for the ban was because he wouldn't play to segregated audiences.
Okay.
But you're talking about the actual event.
But that actual moment of like that young man helping to pull the blinders off and saying, Ray, you can't do this.
That was a moment that was a moment that felt like it could be either way. Like I felt like that could have been cinematic license, or that could have been how it happened.
And they also had that scene where Quincy Jones had already stopped. Quincy Jones, whose star had also was also rising at the time, they ran into each other. And Quincy Jones was like, I'm not doing the South no more because I'm not playing in Jim Crow. And Ray Charles was like, well, that's where the money is. So I'm going wherever that money is. And this is down there in the South. So I'll be going. He literally said, more money for me in the movie. But then he got down there and had the crisis of conscience. And said, no, I can't play to these segregated audiences that is in alignment with my values. So, but since that's a good one for us to research later, which I will, because I just want to know now, was that a real moment? You know, good. And bro, you were going to take us to the cinematography.
Yeah, because that's the last thing we got to talk about, right?
I think that's it. We've checked off our list here.
Yeah,
well, there is one thing I want to talk about after the cinematography.
All right. Well,
do it.
Yay! Well, it was beautifully shot, and even the moments, the dream sequences, and just the uses of color. And then when they were showing his transition to blindness, it just felt like everything was so careful.
Yeah.
The scene where he was singing his new version of country fusion or whatever, whatever you want to call it, and everybody was wilding out, and then they lowered the lights, and you really felt that, almost like you were in there in the theater. So yeah, I definitely loved everything about it.
Yeah. It did. It was really good.
I agree. Beautifully shot. You said it, bro.
The one thing to your point about the dream sequences, that's what I wanted to bring up. I don't think we can leave this review and not discuss trauma and what can happen in a person's life and how it can manifest itself. And this movie spoke a lot to that. Him, at any point, there can be a trigger. And for Ray, his trigger was all of a sudden, he was in a space of thinking that there was water somewhere. Could be his suitcase. It was on the floor outside of the bathroom at one of the clubs. There were so many different spaces that he was experiencing this tragic event that happened to him. And even right after that, now you have a situation where your brother has drowned and passed away. Not too long after that, you lose your sight as a child. Then not too long after that, you have to leave everything you know and go to a school that caters to your ability to your abilities. And so I wanted to just name how his coping mechanisms. I'm happy that they didn't shy from that, and I do think that. I'm happy that the man that did the biography with him named that in his article about the other things that happen. And so I don't want us to miss that opportunity to show what can happen if you don't deal with something, or you don't know how to deal with something, you don't know the tools to deal with something, or you don't even have access to the tools to deal with something, how that can make itself known. And I know we said about Bokeem Woodbine's character, he put Fathead's character trying to get Ray to start drugs. And we go to Ray not telling, because Marjorie wanted to start doing drugs with him, and he was a very adamant telling her, do not do this.
Yeah, that was a nice parallel. That was a nice callback parallel.
He did an amazing job.
And I want to say, I've seen some wild stuff in movies. I've seen some things that made me jump in movies. But when I was in the movie theater and that baby arm popped out of that suitcase, that was an impactful
and can I
moment.
Tell you that is part, like that is part of the reason I have not watched that movie repeatedly.
Because it was so subtle. But it was just like he was just and it's just a baby arm. That was jumpy. So they did a phenomenal job.
Oh my God! And
because I felt like I was with it for a moment.
Sis, you have set me up to give us a little bit of trivia. Okay. And to read a Ray Charles quote as we wrap and get to the vote, y'all. Okay. So, sis, believe it or not, that David Ritz, the person who co-wrote the autobiography, said that his brother dying is not the thing that really haunted Ray in real life. In fact, he did try to save his brother's life in the tub. It didn't go down like they did it in the movie, that he actually did try to save his brother unsuccessfully, obviously.
I wanted to talk about that too. I'm glad you brought it.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't even address that.
Yeah.
That he just watched.
He did. So in real life, he did try to save his brother.
Okay.
But the thing that was the reason for his actual first breakdown was his mother's death, Aretha's death. And so the thing that was haunting him, the way that they had the death of his brother haunting him in the movie, in real life, the thing that was plaguing him was the mourning for his biological mother. That's what did it.
Wow. I wonder why they decided to switch that up.
And obviously,
because I think it could have worked either way.
And he was okay with it.
Yeah, he was okay with it, but I feel like it would have worked. Either way, So
but the power of a baby arm in a suitcase.
But I ain't gonna lie to you. If it was a grown-up arm, I think equally.
That's anybody's arm.
I think it would.
Just an arm in my suitcase.
You weren't. Look, we were not expecting that.
You don't want an arm in a suitcase.
You weren't expecting that because this is not like a supernatural movie or something like that.
No.
Yeah. It was just. He's just unpacking my suitcase.
Right.
Then water. And at first you're like, did somebody spill something in the suitcase?
What is all this water? What's all this water? Okay, so the last part of this article by David Ritz, before we go to the vote, I'm just going to read it to you, okay? Right. The producers of Ray make much of the fact that Ray himself endorsed the movie. That's certainly true. He wanted a successful crossover movie to mirror his successful crossover music. He participated and helped in any way he could. In one of our last discussions, Ray reminded me that the process of trying to sell Hollywood began 26 years ago when producer-director Larry Schiller optioned his story. Since then, there have been dozens of false starts. It wasn't until his son, Ray Jr., producer Stuart Benjamin, and the director Hackford stayed on the case that the cameras rolled. And here's the quote. "Hollywood is a cold-blooded motherfucker," said Ray. "It's easier to bone the president's wife than to get a movie made." So I say, God bless these cats. God bless Benjamin and Hackford and Ray Jr. Weren't for them, this would never have happened. And now that it's happening, maybe I'll have a better chance of being remembered. I can't ask for anything more. Take us to the vote, bro. Take us to the vote.
Well, yeah, I think anybody watching this pretty much knows where this is going, but I to tell you that I forgot how good this movie was.
So good.
Is. I forgot how good. Like, I loved the movie. I remember loving the movie when I went in the theater. But when I saw the time, like 2.5 hours, I was another long one. And I didn't feel it at all. I didn't feel the time of the movie at all. And I found myself looking forward to scenes like when they were about to do the watch what I say. I was like, oh, this is the scene. This is the scene. And like when he laid the tracks, all those things that we talked about, I was looking forward to these scenes, which tells you two things. First of all, I haven't seen this movie since 2004. So we're talking about almost 20 years. And all of these scenes still are in my head. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I knew they were coming up. Yes. So this is, now that I had a sneaky feeling it was going to be a classic, for me from the beginning. But what I'm saying is it's a classic in the sense of it is now entering my rotation. So not only does it get my Ray glasses, this will be a movie that I revisit several times.
You said it, bro. You said it, bro. Yeah. Let me just say, and again, surprise, surprise, this movie's a classic for me.
You're kidding.
It definitely gets my sunglasses. And I'm going to tell y'all why. I can say it in two words. It's a name, Jamie Foxx. Okay? Because I said to myself, if this movie had the exact same writing and the exact same cinematography and all the same supporting actors, but somebody else in the lead, would it work? Would it be sitting with me the way it is? And I just feel strongly the answer is no. I think that Jamie Foxx was born to play this part. He said it. He said he felt like he had spent his whole career and his whole life preparing for this role somehow, without knowing it.
Yeah.
And so it is that perfect casting and that awesome performance. It makes me want to start an award show and then give the award to Jamie Foxx. Okay, you get the inaugural Wright Perspective Award, Jamie Foxx, because you are the bomb.com. So because of him, because of his masterful performance alone, this movie gets my sunglasses for sure.
Well, I will say this movie had all the things that you need to make an amazing movie. You get to see the beginning, and I won't necessarily say the end, but the continuation. You get a chance to see the background story. You got a chance to see the music, just all of the things, or just in even a period of time that was quite tumultuous for Black people. And still getting a chance to see a different side of it, right? Getting a chance to see this other perspective. And so at any rate, just echoing the things that my brother and sister have said, it definitely gets my sunglasses. I don't know if I would be someone that watches it over and over again. I don't think that I like it. I don't like it that much. I like it a lot, but I don't know, because it is heavy. The movie is really good, but it's a little heavy. So I don't know if I would watch it multiple times, but I would definitely watch it again. Because I would enjoy it. The 2.5 hours, they were seamless. So it definitely gets my sunglasses.
Oh man. And y'all, I have to say, I don't know how much I watch it, like sis. I don't know how much I watch it, but that playlist, that Spotify playlist of Ray Charles, I will be revisiting. I really genuinely enjoyed listening to it. So now I can honestly say,
back to Arkansas.
I'm a fan of his music. You know, and again, this is what he wanted. He wanted a chance of being remembered. So we remember you, Ray Charles. We remember you real good. And y'all, we hope you remember to tune in again and watch and listen to the Wright Perspective. Y'all, we have wrapped our first episode of season 4. Thank you for joining us. Ray is a classic from the Wright Perspective. We'll see you all in the next few weeks. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time,
Love y'all. Bye.